Mhm.
Hello. Hey. How are you doing today?
Good, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
Nice to meet you.
Good.
Hey.
Do you have a few moments? We were hoping to chat with you about our presentation.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, we were wondering if you could. We have a rough version of our PowerPoint right now. We were wondering if you could clarify and give us some guidance on a few things, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay. How's your weekend?
Good. Yeah.
Good to hear.
Very good. Sorry, we're more than a third done already.
That's scary. That's so scary.
It just goes.
Oh, I already have it up. Yeah. Alright. And we also had a few questions about the outline as well, our corrections. Mitch can ask more about this, but we were just curious about shoot. Give me a second, I have the email, I apologize. It's been a rough morning already. Alright, essentially this is what we have for our for social, cultural, and whatnot. Here's the obviously we're gonna expand the information, but remember the other concern that Aaron had about it?
Yeah, the schemas.
Yeah.
Oh, personal. My entire
Right.
section was cut out, like all that I was studying.
On the family stuff?
On the family
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
How would I relate that back to relational to just like the schemas and interpersonal? Like, what can I do?
Could we relate it back to that?
You could. My thinking though in crossing that out is that there was so much other stuff you had on the outline that there was still plenty for the presentation.
Okay.
Without thinking that you had to add something new in, maybe dividing it up different. But it seemed to me that, to cover all of those topics in depth when you only have 50 to 60 minutes, it seemed like you would still have plenty to do, even taking out the family stuff. You see why we kind of took out the family stuff, just because most everything else is on the relationals, other relationships, and the family could really be a separate topic in and of itself.
Can I still use like the pluralistic and like the consensual and that stuff?
Yeah, well,
that was just my section. It was just like, it's all cut out, like now.
Yeah,
So
that is
it's
still
like
more group though, because, when you're talking about things like pluralist and stuff like that, you are talking about a group rather than two people.
Okay.
Now what you could do, if you wanted to, although this isn't so much schema, but in terms of, well, this is more conflict style though, you could talk about, those 5 basic, but see, that's really getting off track from your presentation. Those 5 basic conflict styles like avoiding, withdrawing, coordinating, or compromising, those kind of things. You could do something like that. But I would think when you look at all the stuff that you've got down there, and then on the second page too, that there's a lot for one group to cover.
Okay, so
now, have you gotten hold of your member here who's doing dialectics?
Yes.
She is going into real good detail there, because that was very, very little on the outline, considering how much is involved with dialectical theory.
Yes, actually I'm doing that one. We decided last night that I would take hers.
Oh, okay.
She had like the identity management theory, and then we're also gonna redo this and everything.
Sure.
It's just like basic what we're gonna.
Well, if you're doing dialectics,
Yeah.
you wouldn't have time to do anything else. I mean, if
That's
you're doing,
all right.
yeah, if you're
See
doing,
if I had enough time for that.
yeah, if you're doing the basis of dialectic theory, and you're doing the dialogic as discourse, and then you go through the specific dialectics, like autonomy, togetherness, open, closed, those 3 main dialectics, that's plenty. That's a lot. And if you, not that you would have to, but if you have the time, I mean, it's not a lot of time since it's tomorrow night, but there's also some real good research out there on the dialectics showing what percentage of the couples experience each of those dialectics.
Okay.
I do that when I talk about it sometimes in class. But again, I don't know if you have time to add that, but there's a lot on dialectics in and of themselves. Now, you might need to supplement it with more than just what's in the text, but dialectical theory is clearly a subtopic in and of itself.
Okay,
Yeah, don't even worry about the schemas.
Alright.
Yeah, and at least from what I saw on your PowerPoint, it looked like you did the right thing there with the PowerPoint, not just repeating what is being said.
Yeah, we're not repeating,
it supplements. That's one of the things so many people don't realize, that the PowerPoint should supplement the presentation instead of just repeat it.
Okay.
And then the other thing too that's real good as a group is if there's a relative even amount of distribution with the PowerPoint. Again, some things I've seen, and obviously if like one member's not pulling their weight or something, what you end up with is you've got like 4 people with all these great PowerPoint slides and one person doesn't have anything.
Right.
So
Oh yeah. We each
just
have
to
our.
kind of balance
We
it.
each are bringing at least 5 or so slides.
Good, good.
And I was wondering too with mine, like I didn't have much on the outline. I'm doing the rhetorical today.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, like, I only have like 4 slides, but are these like decent things to cover, or should I go in like different directions with this?
Well, I mean, those are true about rhetorical in general, but you want to keep to your relational topic. And the main thing is, I mean, just glancing at that, now I don't know how you were going to present it, but just glancing at that,
Just like
that looks more like just rhetorical principles rather than the rhetorical aspects of understanding relationships.
Okay.
And you want to be sure that yours is fit in with that, yeah.
Alright.
So what you could do is, maybe just, if you wanted to stick with rhetorical, is just pick 1 or 2 of the rhetorical concepts that apply to the relationships, but don't get off on rhetoric in general.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's all I was wondering.
And for the bibliography, we definitely have to have outside sources, what you're saying.
Some, yeah, I mean, obviously, your main objective is to teach that chapter.
Right.
But it is nice, though, to supplement it with some outside sources, especially some recent research and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Just to add a little more substance to it.
Because for I'm doing the cybernetic paradigm or cybernetic tradition, and like the book, for at least for me, like that even if there's 2 pages in the book,
There's
I
a ton
get it.
there.
I get it. Like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it sucks because it's there. I almost feel like there's no more to really like.
Well,
I can expand on it, but it's really difficult to like expand without like it's something that's mentioned
Going
in the
over
book.
time and stuff, yeah, and that's
Yeah.
okay. I mean, your primary objective is to teach that chapter.
Okay.
But, you know, I figured that you probably would have some supplemental sources that you would pull
Okay.
in and stuff like that. Yeah, but it doesn't have to be like the same number for each person or
Oh
anything
yeah, so like
that.
in your speeches, or in your class, you like bring stuff from the outside.
Yeah,
You just
exactly.
like talk about it for a little bit and then you like go back to your.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Reiterate.
Like maybe a study or something like that. That's one of the,
Something that show like.
the theory's covered in the text, but one of the book doesn't really do a lot in terms of some of the empirical research. So that would be,
Okay.
you know, if you did have some stuff to bring in.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, are you guys gonna have a chance to actually go through a whole run-through as a practice
Tonight,
We're gonna-
before
well,
your?
it's in tomorrow. Cause I mean,
Yeah.
last night was the first time we were all epic together.
That's, yeah.
Like, at 11 o'clock. So yeah, I mean, it was like on a whim too. It was the one time where we didn't plan it. We all were just like, all right, I'm showing up.
Well, good.
So-
Yeah. That'll give you a final check in terms of the overall time of the presentation.
Yeah.
And the other biggie too is that each person is going for about the same amount of time, so you don't have one person going
We're
20
gonna
and one going
try
3.
and do a small review game, just like a review. We get some candy. Who doesn't like candy? And
Yeah.
then just like questions and stuff.
Oh, and the candy for the answering the questions.
We're just gonna do like 3 questions from our section at the very end.
Okay.
And which we think, I mean, if we rush it, it would take 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, so we gotta kind of narrow that down, but.
Yeah, keep that brief.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, now will you have those 3 questions on your PowerPoint or on your outline?
We can put them on the outline and the
Yeah.
PowerPoint.
Okay, one or the other, because those will be the review questions for the exam that I mentioned.
Okay.
'Cause
Yeah.
what I do is I pick a question from each presentation for the exam, but I usually give the group a chance to identify what you would like to ask as a question,
Okay.
and then we might modify it or
Should
something.
we have those questions the one the students are gonna answer?
Yeah,
Alright.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that'd be good.
Awesome.
Good,
Alright.
good,
And-
Good deal.
good job.
Yeah.
And then I
It's
asked you a
yours.
few questions too when I get a chance.
Okay.
I can sit down and do specific. I guess I'm doing some next time. This is what we have for our outline. Yeah, I will.
1 second here. That's 8 minutes.